Hello, my name is Dr. Annick Jensen. I have met some of you already. For the others, I am a clinical psychologist and a mother of a young adult who is on the spectrum and is 25 years old today and pursuing the career he loves. But I use my personal story and to give you a perspective of how it is to actually hone in on what it is that you want for your child and go and get it. The aim of this mini talk is to skim over a topic, and we'll put links in our different documentation for those who like digging deeper and more reading. And for now, we're talking about identifying and using our signature strength. Signature strengths refer to these human qualities that are present in each of us, but in different doses, and we bring them up at different situations. So, for instance, they refer to creativity, judgment, love of learning, perspective. So, there's a large body of research behind all of this. Martin Seligman, who is the founder of positive psychology, has put a test for signature strength on his website, AuthenticHappiness.com. We'll give you some links for that. And over 2.5 million people have taken this test. And so what is backing up this field is what we call in research big data. Where psychology has not yet entered the use of signature strength is for what we are using them now for, helping parents who have a child with a disability identify their goals and pursue this goal, honing in onto this goal. So this research has identified 24 character strengths. You will get in a moment a list of all of them, and you will rate them. And your top 5 to 8 strengths, these are called your signature strengths. When you use your signature strength, you're at your personal best. You feel joyful, engaged, full of energy. And in fact, the more you use your signature strength, the more energetic you feel. When you're working with your strength, you feel it's the real you. It's a good topic to bring to you today. The reason why is because research has also showed that as many as 1 in 3 people actually don't know what their strengths are or don't know how to harness them to become more effective. That's an interesting situation. Basically, as we are engulfed in the routine, we're not necessarily making those conscious choices. The reason we have this talk now is so that we get back to knowing what are those strengths that we should bring in different situations. So we're going to ask you to choose between 5 and 8 because different situations you'll find that different strengths are more appropriate. This is really important because another part of research has shown that our brains are negatively skewed. In other words, we pay more attention to negative experiences than to positive ones. In fact, Rick Hansen, a famous neuropsychologist, says that our brains are like Teflon for positive experiences and Velcro for negative ones. So when we have a positive experience, yeah, right, that's great. But when we have a negative one, it sticks. The reason why this is important is that we have noticed in our groups that sometimes people do achieve short-term goals, but then they're just not paying attention to them. They don't consider that they've achieved a goal. Rather, they keep moving the goalpost further, and they say, "Oh yeah, I did that, but I didn't have that," or "This happened, but this other thing didn't happen." So another example is one dad had decided that he wanted to create a men's group, which is, by the way, this is just a plug for it. It's on Tuesdays. Every so often there's dates to it, and people who participate in it have just said it's absolutely great. They love it. But when this person came to judge his goals, he felt that no, it wasn't. He really hadn't accomplished it because they weren't yet they hadn't yet gelled. It was just the beginning, and there could be so much more that could be happening. But hey, if you look at the other part of it, that they had started meeting already, and that was the first step, and Plumtree had tried to create a men's group for 15 years without success. Well, that is a success. So I don't want you to keep moving the goalpost and not feel happy about those successes. That's why we have those fruits that we put into the trees, because once a success has been achieved once, even if it's a short-term one, then it's achievable, and that's what we need to go forward with in our lives. We must remember we can create this positive impact. So while it's important to carry on working on shortcomings, for our well-being, it's also much more important actually to nurture our strengths and put them to use. Research has shown that using 4 or more of your signature strengths at work is actually the cutoff point for people who say that their work is a calling. I can tell you that it definitely works on me, because I absolutely love what I do with Now Next and with the alumni group, and it actually fills up a few of my strengths and my interest in life. So knowing our strength is the first step. Developing strength ensures more positive engagement, positive relationships, positive emotions, and well-being, and most importantly, outcomes. Because this is what we're after in the Now and Next programs. We want you to select goals, some that are achievable, and we want you to experience achieving them. Because in the past, in our research has shown that when people achieve their goals, they feel a sense of accomplishment, they feel a boost of energy, and they want to get forward. It gives them more energy to carry on and go forward. And people, we need energy, we're in it for the long run. So finally, the last bit about the research, in this introduction, is that using signature strength is actually has a preventative quality. Research shows that using our signature strength helps buffer stress and improve coping ability when we deal with negative stuff in our life. There's no hesitation here. We really need to get this on board and use and harness, get to know our signature strengths and harness them, so that we know which ones we work with and how to bring them out into the open when we meet different issues. So what we're going to do today is identify our signature strength and also link them to one of our goals, potentially our child goal, so that we see how do we actually make a difference to achieving the goal that we want to achieve. So the practical application is immediate. The last point about the introduction to signature strength is that creative positive affirmation based on our signature strengths will help us achieve our goals, because of what the same neuroscientist Rick Hansen talks about when he says, when neurons fire together, they wire together. So our brains have different pathways with cause a chain reaction that cause a continuation between something that we want to achieve and a result. And if people engage in negative thinking, those are the pathways that are reinforced in the brain. And basically, the more negatively you think, the more negatively you will think, because you will be using those preferential pathways in the brain, and that's called a self-fulfilling prophecy. And there's a very the physiological traces to that. So if you train your brain to thinking positively about certain aspects of getting, reaching your goals, like for instance, when you use your signature strength, like the hope one, I will work until this has happened because I know it's going to happen. Then your brain keeps thinking it is going to happen. The other thing I want to say is that this exercise fits very nicely in the 5 windows of our exercise, because in each time we set a goal and we have to look at one window that is about ourselves, things about me, things I need to learn. Well, today, learning about my character strength is going to make a difference. So we're still with the 5 windows, which is great. So to bring you an example that is relevant to you today, I thought back into when my son was young and he was sort of transitioning to school. And well, to be sure, every time we had a transition, I had, I encountered difficulties, because we seem to have gotten to a sort of a really good, a good place, and then, and then we transition to a new place, a new environment. And at the beginning, I was scared about this transition. I was anxious about them. But life has taught me that in each of these transitions, there was something great that I didn't know about before. a new door open, a new person was engaged, something new happened. If it didn't, I made sure it happened. But those transition actually have inside of them the power for some brand new thing to happen with our child. But for me, the transition to school was a big one, as it probably is for you too. So I, when I met with my son's teacher, I decided that I was going to bring one of my strengths, which is leadership. I thought to myself, hi, okay, so I like the leadership part of it. I liked having a team, and I like bringing the best out of each person working in a team. But the other thing, also, the other signature strength that I brought is my love of creativity and ingenuity. So thinking about new ways of doing old things maybe is a crucial part of who I am. So, um, so I decided in my head, well, this team of teachers is my team. I'm the general manager of this enterprise called the Success for My Son, and by the way, my husband was in the team too, and so my job was to bring out of every person the best. They, time after time, especially when we encountered challenges, there were, of course, and there were some behavioral stuff, and so I came on board into this partnership with the feeling that I need to make this work. And lots of people come into on board into in a very different state of mind. I have seen parents who basically are led by the team at work. So they come and they feel that other people are telling them what to do because they're the experts, but that's not going to get you very far. As get on top of it as soon as you can. You're the manager of this team. So the other part, creativity part that I brought is I try to find new ways to make it fun for teachers, because what happens is that because there were issues with behavior, then we had to be creative about it. And people love it when you say, well, let's be creative about it. You actually give them permission to be creative rather than sort of go by the book, and by the book is not usually not fun. So I gave them, using those two strengths really made a huge difference, and there was a huge leap forward. But by the way, if you are thinking about transitioning to school and making this team your team, there's other signature strengths that you can bring to do that. So for instance, some people have really good social intelligence, so they have personal emotional intelligence, so they can think about how they understand about the motives of different people. They understand about how these things fit together to get the best aspect. So there's also the example of fairness as a character strength. So for some people, if you get a teacher who has this fairness character strength, then you can appeal to the fact that it's really important to treat everyone the same way, for everyone to have the same chance, and that'll appeal to them in terms of giving your child the best chance. And gratitude, you can use gratitude because you can also look at every little milestone that your child accomplishes in school and feeling grateful and sharing it with other people, i.e. teachers and educators. That will get you a long way too, because people love to be acknowledged. So gratitude is one of them. Another one is hope, optimism, future minded. Those character strengths will help you greatly also to work with a school team, because a person who is hopeful is a person who doesn't give up, who thinks that, these things are going to happen, that we just have to change this or change that, change one of the 5 windows and make it work. And so, the teachers will be also coming on board for that. So if you have one aim, I'm just trying to give you an example of how you can actually approach it from a lot of different ways. Working with the team when my son came into school was really important. Also, I went through a mental shift, and I thought, wow, I've now got a team of teachers across the room, and that's their job. I'm basically, for this intent and purpose, I'm the manager, general manager, and I've got this team here. They're paid full time to help with our common aim, and our common aim is that my child succeeds at school. So I started looking at the team more as me being in charge, making sure that things go well. And there's a whole lot of things that can be done. Now we're ready to do this exercise, and this exercise was co-designed with the team members who are also parents. And the person who designed this beautiful working sheet is Jackie Pasternak, who is a parent who just graduated from Now and Next.